Hi, and welcome back to Around the Block with GoodBlock. This is Erika here with Nathaniel, and today we're doing a special Behind the Tech episode where we're going to take a deeper dive into GoodBlock's new servers and why Nathaniel's so excited about it. Before we dive in, though, remember to like this video, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you can be notified when we drop more content. All right, let's get started. So, Nathaniel, do you want to start by actually first telling us about this new server?
All right. So let's talk about the new server. So this is using the new AMD Ryzen 9 7950. It's the fastest chip that exists. It's very strong. This CPU doesn't have like a set frequency like previous generations did. Instead, it adds clock cycles to its headroom. And then it has temperature and amperature limits where it'll throttle and cap itself. And it will boost itself all the way up to 95 degrees Celsius.
So what does that all mean for the operation of the block producer node?
It means that there's no set frequency that this CPU has. It actually clocks in right around 5.88 gigahertz, which is very fast. It's about 25% faster than the Intel i9s that are previously just came out. We do have one of those servers that is currently our mainnet server, and it's blazing fast, but this is even faster.
Wow. So you say it's even faster. How fast is it? What's an example we can all kind of wrap our heads around a little bit?
So the best way for us to calculate how this is performing against other block producers is to have a Grafana metrics recording what's going on with the metrics. EOSnation.io has a really great one. Links down below, which we can use to see what our CPU averages are.
Right. This is a chart we sometimes see with all the different BPs and all their stats.
On the Telos blockchain, Kitchen Tools is at 149 microseconds. So they're using the fastest they can be at our generation. I'm expecting that we're going to be under 100 with the new one.
Wow. That's pretty exciting. So when do we get to know?
It's almost running right now.
We'll know by the time this video is out.
By the time this video is out, I will have an update for you in a little short, and we'll take a look at those metrics for you in that short.
So what does that mean then? Like what's left then, I guess, to be done still before that can happen? When you move to a new server, do we have to reload the whole blockchain again? And what's that look like? I mean, I know that usually takes a while for people who are signing up new.
Let me back up a step and tell you a little bit about building the server. So building the server takes a lot of thought. When you're trying to build it, you need to have like good power supplies. Depending on the type of blockchain you're on, you might want a lot of graphics cards or you might want a good CPU. Thankfully, Telos is delegated proof of stake, so we only need the one CPU with a core that runs the fastest it can go and a bunch of RAM for memory. This server uses 64 gigabytes of the DDR5 new hotness Threadrippers. It's blazingly fast. Additionally, access speeds for your hard disks, you're going to want to have them to be as fast as possible too, because you're always writing and reading blocks from the chain. So you're going to want NVMe2 hard disk space. We have 8 terabytes on our server right now. So what all of that stuff lets us do, we didn't go crazy with space. We don't have like a petabyte of data. We don't need that. We just got the pieces that we needed for the server to run it as fast as we possibly can for its API and for its block producing capabilities. API is what people come into the server to ask about. Ask about the state of the blockchain. So that's how we see the blockchain, is with the API. And every block producer generally has one or two. So what does this mean for the blockchain? That this kind of server makes it easier for the next server down the line to get their blocks in fast. Because if we can do all of our blocks in and we have time, then we can pass it on and the next block producer might not be behind on their blocks. Additionally, that extra CPU allows us to put more blocks into the transaction. So you can really
Is it more
pack in the
transactions into a block?
transaction. I would say yes. The higher CPU you have, the more block space that you can actually put into there because you have the time to put it in there.
This is just kind of out of my own curiosity. How does
Sure.
that relate to like how much CPU a user spends on a transaction? Like if I as a block producer can provide more CPU for a block, then does that change like the price of the CPU for someone's
I don't
transaction that
think it
happens during
does.
my block?
I don't believe it does, but I do believe that overall it just makes the transactions faster. More transactions will get in per block.
Sure. Okay. Cool. I did still want to tie it back to the the next steps and how long is it going to take for this server to catch up to where the chain is at now and have our block producer running on this new server.
So the great thing about this is we already have servers that have the full blockchain on them locally to us, so we have that as an advantage. If you didn't, you'd have to go out to another block producer and sync from them, which can take 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the speed of your computer and the distance between the two of you. For Leap, I just recently synced our blockchain from Genesis, and it took us maybe about 2.5 weeks. But when I ran it from our server to the other server, they're both on the same network, it only took us 2 days. So
Wow.
it was blazing fast, and it was ready to go. So
That's
I can't wait to turn it on and make it start block producing. Should be any time now.
So it should be totally caught up and have the whole chain already ready to go by the time this comes out.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, it will definitely be online, and you can see it using the Grafana below, and you'll be able to see GoodBlock right there at the very bottom.
So why does that higher speed then matter if a lot more BPs are operating at like normal speed or not as high capacity of servers?
It doesn't negatively affect them. It actually positively affects the network because it means more transactions can be put in. And it's also a metrics that you can say to the people who are slower, hey, look, new generation stuff has come out. The i9s are going to go cheaper. So maybe it's time for you to buy some upgraded stuff, or maybe get off of virtualized hardware doing your block producing and actually get onto solid hardware.
And is that what a lot of BPs do?
We race. Yeah. We race. Yeah, in the secret StageNet chat that we have, it's funny the amount of like comparisons that we're doing with each other, shooting cannons at the blockchain, at the StageNet blockchain, trying to see how many transactions we can put into the blocks. It's quite funny.
Yeah, that sounds pretty exciting.
And it's one, a challenge to get that fast. But 2, it's also wholly not necessary. If your server can do around 450 microseconds, you're fine. You don't need to have the highest end server.
So then in that case, what would you say are ways that will then benefit things like dStor?
Well, just the release of a new chip is going to make the prices of old chips better. And I know that nodes themselves for dStor will want to be cheap and have a lot of storage on them because they don't need CPU. Like this block producer needs the CPU, but dStor storage node will not need that. They'll need a lot of fast, accessible storage that's on fast internet. And so we can see, there are different needs for different types of applications of what we're buying for. I do know for a fact, though, if we buy one of these for one of our gateway nodes, you're going to have like blazing, screaming speeds just accessing your UI.
That'd be funny.
We've been working on the back end to actually improve speeds, and I can't wait to show you guys some of the new stuff in a future video or a future podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The
you guys have been
speed
working your butts
at
off.
which dStor is right now in test.
Kind of exciting. We've actually been running tons of different tests and comparing it to all kinds of other storage platforms out there, centralized and decentralized, and we're getting some really interesting results.
Yeah, we got 10 different speed tests going on. So or 10 different companies who we're speed testing for.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for us to be able to share that kind of those details. So that'll be coming soon. Keep an eye out from dStor. So then if I want to run a dStor node or a Telos BP node, do I need this kind of server, or is it just a benefit? Is it better if I'm building my own apps? Can you give us a little bit more context around the server itself and how it can relate to our projects?
Do you need this for dStor? No, absolutely not. Do you need this for a BP? No, absolutely not, but you better have something close to this, right? Maybe not this generation, but an i7 or an i9 CPU with 64 gigabytes of RAM and 8 to 12 terabytes of NVMe 2. Yes, that's what you need to be a block producer, because you want to have fast blocks and you don't want to be on the kickbot for missing blocks, because we're all paying attention. Everyone gets pinged when one person misses a block, and you don't want your transactions to be missed. So yes, you want this kind of server for a block producer. What does this mean going forward? I think that it means that prices are going to drop for older CPUs and older hardware, and we're going to be able to have quality service for cheaper, faster. And it also means that nodes will be much cheaper to onboard should somebody want to build their own dStor server for themselves. I really recommend it, that you get paid for being a dStor node operator.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have, if someone does want to run a Telos node, like you mentioned, they don't have to have this fancy of a server. But if they do, we have actually released a very handy magical guide to being awesome at being at Telos BP, written by Nathaniel, of course. And so, Nathaniel, do you have any top tips from your article? We'll link that below, but just a couple of tips for people who haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I have a lot of top tips for you if you're making your own block producer. The first one is, don't worry about the specs for your testnet. Just get it running the 7 days for the testnet so that you can run on the mainnet if you really want to run on the mainnet. Testnet is fine for a lot of applications, like maybe you actually have a purpose why you want to run a block producer other than just to create Telos tokens. The API is exposed and you'll want to run your program. Don't worry about speed when you're running your testnet. Just get your server up. Another one is, when you're syncing from the blockchain, there is an option called sync fetch span with little hyphens in it. Set that up to like 1,000 or 3,000. It's normally very low, and that will help you speed up the rate at which you're transferring blocks. Don't set it to anything like 10,000, or you'll just consume all your internet and all of your memory, and it won't work. Like, it'll start crashing all of your services. So 3,500 is what I set for mine, and it seems to work really great for what my purposes are. Also, only have one peer when you start to do your sync. So if you're going to sync from Genesis block, which you should do because then you have every block, find a peer that's located near you geographically, and only have that one peer when you're doing your syncing, so that you're much faster in and out. If you have a whole bunch of peers, every time you go to resync the blockchain, you're going to ask every peer for that set of blocks.
Even
and the first one
might be slower, right? Even those that are slow to respond, so then that delays your what you're doing. It
won't even care. It doesn't even it doesn't slow it down. It doesn't even care. It only wants one set of blocks, and it'll discard all of that transfer that you did for every other set of blocks. So just have one peer when you're starting out. And then when you go to mainnet, like go into the mainnet channel, find out what people are running, and don't run a potato on mainnet because it will be seen in the kick channels.
We'll know.
We'll know. Oh yeah. I missed one and I get like 3 messages from people saying, "Hey, you missed a block." And I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, thankfully that's not often, huh?
Yeah, and vote for block producers. If you're going to participate in this process, you should have 3 block producers that you're going to vote for with your own Telos. That way, you're keeping in the game, and you're also promoting other people who you think are also good at the game. If you would, vote for GoodBlock. We are,
of course,
the number 2 block producer.
And and you have to actually vote for over 26 of them in order to get your full vote weight out of your tokens anyways.
Right.
So makes the most sense to vote for, I guess, all 30. The hardest part is like shuffling it around just to kind of like distribute some votes and keep new block producers. I love, when we see new block producers rising in the ranks.
Well, another good time I actually like to redo my vote is when I go into Decide Voter and I'm messing around in Decide Voter. It's a good time to like renew your BP vote. You're doing other stuff.
It's so easy in there.
Like right now, we have a contest going on, right?
Yes, so we do actually have a new monthly Around the Block listener giveaway that we sneakily started last Friday. We just wanted to tell you guys about this campaign we're doing. So here's what's the deal. We are running 3 polls every month through the Decide Voter app. You can vote wherever you'd like to vote. It's super easy on Decide Voter. So of those 3 polls, one of them is going to be an opinion poll that runs for the whole month straight. And then the other 2 are going to be a question that's specific to our block party. We do those twice a month. So every other Friday, we will have one poll that's out specific to that block party event. So 2 of those per month, and then 1 opinion poll that's running the whole month. Every time you answer a poll, that counts as 1 entry, and we can see in Decide Voter who's entered. So you can have up to 3 entries per month. And then at the end of the month, the Corduroy Earth team is taking care of this for us. They're going to compile all their entries and then use Telos oracles to choose the winners. And then once the winners are chosen, there's going to be 3 winners each month. And the first place will get 250 Telos. Second prize will be 100 Telos. And then the next will be 50 Telos. So we'll be giving away 400 Telos a month to 3 different entrants who are paying attention and go fill out our Decide Voter polls. So at the end of the month, we're going to announce those winners and distribute prizes on our podcast.
Another reason to listen to our podcast. So we've talked about good blockchains. Let's talk about a bad blockchain in our BS of the week, block stuff of the week.
All right. So in this week, we have a really juicy block stuff. So a week ago, a hacker exploited Mango markets for over $100 million. I think it came out that it was about $117 million. Yep. And then they went ahead and used their exploited tokens, created a proposal to redistribute more than 50% of the funds back to the community, but keeping 47 million for himself and making it so that they can't file any criminal charges against him, and then uses the tokens to make the vote pass.
Yeah.
So let's break this down a little bit more. Firstly, it's not like this would hold up in court, right? I mean, he can't say, a vote passed that said I wouldn't get in trouble, so I'm not going to get in trouble.
No, it would not hold up in court. No, it wouldn't.
So can you tell us what the exploit was and how the hacker got those tokens?
Yep. So Mango has, and a lot of exchanges have this kind of way to borrow collateral against the chain, and that creates a negative value token. So what he did is he used two accounts. He used one to short Mango, and then he spent like $5 million shorting Mango. And then on the other half of that, he would buy up that negative liquidity. And at the end of that, it only took him a few seconds to do this. He bought and sold a bunch of times, drove down the price of Mango 47%, and then cashed in on that bug. So he was able to use two accounts to just ladder attack himself down to becoming rich by shorting Mango very much.
So it did take a $5 million investment,
$10 million investment.
Right, because you had to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Whoa, $5 million on both. So that's a lot of commitment.
Oh yeah, and that's probably why he took so much back. I would assume that maybe a $10 or $15 million finder's fee seems reasonable, and I've heard that in other chains. But he has the leverage to be able to do what he wants, basically, because he has the 98% voting power.
But now, couldn't the DAO then just go ahead and try and retake control of their own account and say, like, we're not going to honor this? Like, obviously
or kill
a
the smart
vulnerability,
contract.
and this isn't, it's not a smart contract. These tokens didn't automatically just go into the accounts. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it does kind of display some of the potential downfalls of DPoS, right? Or when we use at least one token, one vote, rather than one account, depending on the kinds of things we're doing. And this was really interesting.
Right. It's a form of a Sybil attack. Instead of compute power, he actually had like consensus power based on his votes and the amount of money or amount of voting power he was able to acquire with those tokens very quickly.
Very interesting. We'll have to keep our eyes on how that story unfolds.
And additionally, he wouldn't want to DDoS himself, right? Wouldn't want to expose himself, so he's not going to reveal where that money went to in Mango. He has those account codes are still there. So he will probably want to hide himself from any sort of problems. So we might not ever see that money get back or cash it out, right? On the blockchain, everything's visible.
Right. So we can all see when anything will happen with those tokens. So I'm sure there are going to be people watching very closely.
Oh, yeah. Until the end of time.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for our episode for today. Thank you so much, Nathaniel, for hanging out with me for our special episode. If you guys want to learn more about Web3, blockchain, and all the other fun stuff that we're up to, check us out wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and hit the notification bells. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.